Welcome to Tete-a-Tete, a head-to-head conversation about how to get more bang for your buck when utilizing flower bulbs in your garden landscape. And now, celebrating their 125th year as a family business, here are your hosts, Brent Heath and Jay Hutchins.
Well, thank you, Harvey King. Appreciate the intro there, and welcome everybody to another edition of Tete-a-Tete. It's Jay here with Brent and Becky's. Got my coffee mug like I usually do for this, except today I won't have a lot of time to sip from the mug. I didn't think about that because, let me show you something. There's no Brent. He's out of town. So you got just me. So I hope today's a special day. We've got a topic that I think a lot of people across the United States would be interested in, and it is the Pest Proof bulbs that we have on sale this week. And Pest Proof is a big thing. When Denise and I go to the Netherlands and we talk Pest Proof and all the critters, and it's not something that they have to deal with, and it's a little unusual. They go, "Oh, Pest Proof? What do you mean?" Well, a little foreign for over there, but as far as here in the U.S., you know that sometimes the critters can get into your garden and just have a heyday. So today we're going to be discussing some items that are on sale for this week. Daffodils, yeah, that's your favorite one, right? Everybody knows what a daffodil is. That's what we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about leucojums, and we're going to talk about galanthus, and we're going to talk about colchicums. And I'll point out in a little bit why talking about these four in particular are going to give you about 7 or 8 months worth of color and bloom time in sequential order. I mean, one comes and then the next and the next and the next. So I'll tell you more about that in just a little bit. So let's dive into what these guys makes them so dependable. And we will start with daffodils. They are famously known as pest-proof bulbs, thanks to alkaloids that are in the bulb that deters the critters. That alkaloid not only is poisonous, but trust me, I've planted enough of these things by hand, and you get some of that bulb juice, whatever you call that on the inside. And if you do this and then lick your lips, you're going to taste that, and it's incredibly bitter. So yeah, it is poisonous. I wouldn't worry about it around children or your pets, because as soon as it touches their mouth, they're going to drop it. It is an incredibly nasty flavor. So they are very cost effective when planted in their happy spot. Not only are they pest proof, but in their happy spot, which is in sunny conditions, with good drainage, good healthy soil, compost added to that soil, and then added again every fall, daffodils can come back for decades. We've got some, I don't know if they're still there now or not, but there are some that I remember 10, 15 years ago that were still blooming, that Brent's grandfather and father had planted, and they just keep coming back and coming back. And in this location, it got full sun, and it got composted, added every fall. And it also was in a place that got a little bit of leaf litter. So when those leaves would break down, that would also feed the soil as well. They are very cost effective. Lots, as Brent says, a lot of bang for your buck. So daffodils, super dependable. You plant these in the fall. You want to plant daffodils around the time of your first hard frost, which somebody says, when do I plant these? In October? Do I plant them in November? That's going to be different for everybody. Someone in South Carolina will be planting later than you folks up in Montana, let's say, who's going to plant as early, probably into September, early October, my guess. I don't garden up there, so I don't know exactly, but I do know that you want to wait to whenever your first hard frost is. And I think the USDA has a portion of their website. You can do a search online for uh, winter hardiness zone or first hard frost. And I've done that before and been able to put in a zip code to get the average first hard frost date. So you might want to look that up, but plant them in the fall. Daffodils in particular, 3 times the bulb height deep and 3 times the bulb width apart. So for an average size daffodil bulb, that's going to be about 4 to 5 per square foot. So if you're looking at planning your garden space, just take that as a guide. The bigger ones, 4 per square foot. And the somewhat smaller or medium sized ones, they're probably going to be more like 5 or so. But the rule of thumb, 3 times the height deep, 3 times the width apart, and you'll be golden. Now, make sure you're planting these in compost-rich soil. Can't explain this enough. You can't go wrong with compost. You can't put too much in. If you're using the chemical fertilizers, you risk burning. You risk, causing some damage to the bulb and the plant itself. So compost, you can roll in compost. You can rub it on your skin. You can rub it in your hair. I guess if you wanted, you could eat it. It wouldn't taste very good. But compost has everything that most plants need. And here in Gloucester, in our gardens, any garden problems that we ever had with things were solved by utilizing compost. It helps with moisture retention and drainage at the same time. It'll get rid of the excess, but only hold on to what's necessary. And it's got all the nutrients and the minerals and everything that a plant needs to thrive, every kind of plant. So I can't emphasize that enough. You want to find an area for your daffodils in full sun. Full sun means minimum of 6 hours of sunlight. 8 is better. Full sun. Now, the early bloomers, the things that are blooming first, as far as daffodils go, like in March. Well, here I am here in March. Some of them are in February. The earliest ones here are sometimes even in January. Or we've had Reinfeld's Early Sensation bloom one year on Christmas Day, and one time I think they popped close just soon after Thanksgiving. So ones like that are early bloomers, those can actually go into a semi-shaded area because the leaves of a tree, for example, haven't come in yet. So they're getting ample sunlight going through the branches of that tree. And also Cyclaminius, Division 6 Cyclaminius, tend to tolerate a little bit of shade. So I would give them the 6 hours, but everything else I'd try to shoot for 8 hours if you've got it. Good draining soil to keep in mind. And then we get calls from people sometimes that say, hey, I'm going to have a wedding on April the 14th. What daffodil will be in bloom then? And there's no way to answer that question. I could take 10 bulbs, give 5 to somebody in Georgia, and take those same 5 and send them into Idaho, and they're all going to bloom at a different time. The warmer the climate, the earlier they're going to pop in the spring, and then later at the cooler climate. So it's hard to determine exactly when. But that's why we typically will say things like mid-spring or late mid-spring, the later portion of mid-spring. So that to you might mean something. If you know when the middle of spring is where you live, now you have an idea of when this daffodil is going to bloom. So keep that in mind. And we also, if you're doing some sort of an event where you want to have certain flowers in place, in bloom when people arrive, we've got mixtures available on our website as well that bloom early, mid, and late. And that way you get a blanket of a little bit of everything all the way through the spring. to give you the show that you're looking for whatever you've got going on. Now, after the blooms have faded, you're going to want to leave that foliage alone. And that goes with most spring bulbs. Um, that foliage, even though the bloom has expired and maybe you've removed it, that foliage is still actively working, and it's photosynthesizing still and putting energy into that bulb for helping it bloom the next season. So by leaving that, it's a little bit less work for you. You're letting the bulb do what it's supposed to do. Leave that foliage alone. Don't cut it. Don't tie it in a knot. Um, Let it keep going until it begins to turn yellow. And at that point, you now know that that bulb is dormant. And then at that time, you can cut it back. Or if you don't like where they were growing and you might want to move them, maybe some more shade is starting to come in over time and you want to move them, that's the optimal time to move them, is when they are dormant. You've still got the foliage that you can grab a hold of. You can see right where the bulb is. That's the time to dig it up and then move it. Being careful to not, it's called the basal plate. It's at the base where the roots come out. Be very careful not to cut or damage that. That could cause an injury to the bulb, and then that can cause a fungus or some sort of infection into it that will cause it to expire and rot. So be very careful if you want to move them, but that's the time to do it. Daffodils, they divide themselves through what they call a daughter bulb. One bulb becomes two, and this is how it happened in the old days when growers were trying to make more and more. One bulb makes two, two makes four, four makes eight, etc. And that's every year. So one bulb one year, two bulbs the next, four the next, eight the next. You can see that takes some time. Now they have a faster way called chipping, and I'm getting off topic, but so that's how they divide. And some people think, wow, they're getting too crowded. I need to dig and divide. And what we have found out is there is some benefit to digging and dividing. And the downfall is the back-breaking work of digging them all up, being careful, finding a new spot, digging up that, and then spacing them out accordingly. We have found, like I said, there are some that Brent's father and grandfather planted in the 30s and 40s that were still blooming. They haven't been moved. They haven't been divided. What they did get was fed. They think that they're dying. People might think that they're not performing as well because they're too compacted and tight in there. And what's happened is that the nutrients have been drained from that spot and not being replaced. And there's just not enough to sustain the bulb's life. So by adding compost every fall, feed in the fall. Used to say fertilize in the fall. Now it's feed in the fall, and then let them photosynthesize in the spring, and they'll do fine. If you want to dig and divide, or if you want to dig and move, have fun. Go for it. I have a busy life, and I'd rather just feed them and go on about my day. So typically it's not crowding, but that's what you would do with daffodils that may be acting that way. They're just fantastic, beautiful. So I love the early ones because they tell you that winter's almost over and hey, spring's coming. Don't worry, So they are fantastic. Now the next one, Leucojum, is also called snowflake. This is easily in my top 3. I can never tell you what's my favorite because it might depend on the day, but they're definitely in my top 3 bulbs. Here's why. They are pest proof, just like the daffodils are. They bloom in full sun. They bloom in full shade. They bloom in average soil moisture conditions. They bloom in drier conditions. They bloom in moist conditions. So it doesn't matter. Sun, shade, wet, dry. They just perform, and pest proof. And here's the other thing. Somebody gives you a dozen roses. It's beautiful. Someone gives you a dozen roses that has that baby's breath in there. That just takes it up another level. Leucojum do the same thing. They are a great companion planting with other spring bulbs, these beautiful white bells with green on the tips. It just fits every design. If you have a yellow garden and you add leucojum, now you have a yellow garden that has these little white bells sprinkled all in there. If it's red, white, and blue, well, they're white too. If it's just a red garden, white goes with everything. So they're a great companion bulb to go with any other spring blooming bulb. They're just fantastic. The flexibility that they give is whatever gardening conditions you've got, leucojum is your thing. And most people actually ask me sometimes, how do you spell that? And it's Leukojum. You can look those up on our website as well. And they just are fantastic, flexible, tolerant. You can't go wrong. It goes with everything. Our next one is super special because not only do critters leave it alone, it is one that blooms at a time when typically you don't have a lot of color or anything growing, and that is during the winter and late winter. These are also planted in the fall at your first hard frost, but these bloom early. So in the winter time when it's cold, they can be those plants that will bridge winter into spring. So these are wonderful, and they are also critter resistant. They'll take, part shade, full shade. They have to be in well-drained soil. They are a little picky about that, but they do need well-drained soil. And they are tough and resistant and wonderful. And remember when I said that there was a 7 or 8 months of bloom time? The next one I'm going to talk about will be the first to bloom because it's a fall bloomer. Planted in the fall, early, mid-September-ish, late September, and they'll start going right away. In fact, these are called colchicums. Very pest resistance because of the colchicine, I believe, is the substance that's inside that creates that toxicity that critters want to leave it alone. But these you plant in the fall. They bloom in the fall, and they are in colors kind of like a lavendery, pink, and white. So these autumn blooming big, they look like a really big crocus actually, but they'll bloom first. These things bloom on a, I guess what we call a naked stem. There's no foliage. Foliage comes up in the spring, and that's when it starts photosynthesizing and feeding the bulb. Then that energy gets stored until next fall, and then the bloom will pop in when the cool temperatures hit in the fall to go again. But these will come first. They are indeed pest resistance, perfect for going into that fall season where, again, there's sometimes not a lot of color going on. You may have a lot of leaf color. There's a handful of things that will do great in the fall, but these just pest-proof, beautiful fall blooming bulbs. Such a great visual interest because of how big they are. They will come first. Your galanthus will come next. Then will come your daffodils and leucojum at the same time. So you're getting fall You're getting into winter. You're getting into spring, especially if you're doing some early daffodils first, going into mid-season daffodils along with the leucojum. You're going to have about 7 months of color with just these few things. And here's another tip. Based on these 4 that are on sale this week being pest proof, try planting them with ones that aren't, like your tulips. Create a bed where the tulips are in the middle and then surround them with daffodils and leucojum, things like that. The critters may think, something smells pretty good over there, and they want to go check it out. They're going to run into the pest-proof ones first, and no thank you. That's a way to help protect other plants or bulbs or things that the pests just want to get to, but they run into that barrier first. Either surround it, intermix them together, so you get a nice mix of a little bit of everything. Put your tulips and your daffodils and your leucojum all in the same bed. Just mix them all around. And then that's also going to help deter the pest from coming to eat the things that they really want. You can try cages for things that are edible. That's another back-breaking, hard thing to do. Or we have a product that we sell called Plant Skid that does a great job of deterring pests, both for fragrance and to them it smells like death, and tends to keep the critters away. So you can try Plant Skid as another option, but go with these 4: the daffodils, the leucojum, the galanthus, the colchicum. Go with these as pest proof. Super easy, reliable. And when they're in their happy spot, they're just going to keep coming back and telling those critters to get. Hey, remember to like, subscribe, comment, anything on our show. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you listening today. I appreciate you listening to me all by myself go on and on about these pest-proof bulbs, but it's a favorite topic because it's a great one. These are bulbs that are loved by many of our customers, and you should try them too, or especially right now that they're 10% off this week on BrentandBecky'sBulbs.com. So thanks again for joining me on this latest edition of Tete-a-Tete. Brent will be back next week, so he'll be back to help out, but I appreciate seeing you. Harvey King, wrap this up for you if you would. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for joining us today on Tete-a-Tete. You can subscribe to this program by finding us on your favorite podcast platform like iTunes, Spotify, and more. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel and find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Just search for Brent and Becky's. Until next time, let's get out there and make the world more beautiful. We'll see you next time on Tete-a-Tete.